It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview Adam Lewis, who owns the podcast What Off Season. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Brandon. How are you? Thank you so much for the opportunity today.
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you got started with the sports podcast?
Absolutely. So I love to talk. Anybody around me knows that I love to talk, and that's my true passion. And I'm coming up on 5 years graduated out of high school now, and I never really had a grasp on what I wanted to do. And I was just doing some soul searching one day, and I was really trying to think what would I truly love to do, and make a career out of for the rest of my life. And I was like, okay, I love to talk. And then I was like, okay, what am I passionate about? I was, of course, sports, and just kind of put it together, sat down, did a lot of research, did a lot of thinking about the name and everything, and then decided that I wanted to go forward. I truly just wanted to chase my true dream. I feel like I'm kind of living my own fantasy right now, being able to create my own network and collaborate doing stuff like this, which I really love. So that's what got me into the game.
That's wonderful. How did you come up with the name What Off Season?
I'm actually really happy that you asked this question because some people get kind of confused when they hear my name or they see it. So if you see in the logo, there's football, basketball, and baseball in the logo. And I try to cover those three sports. And between football, basketball, and baseball, one of those is always circulating in the world. So it's a kind of an instance of what off season. I don't have an off season. I'm always covering one of the three sports. I'm always putting out content, always working hard. So that's why I love to pick the what off season name.
Can you talk about how you designed your logo? Because whenever I looked at it, I was looking at it and it was an amazing logo.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So my first logo, it was I liked it at first. I actually paid somebody to work it up for me. And then once I actually worked it up, I had it for a good little while. Then I kind of just kept looking at it, and my girlfriend was actually kind of telling me that she thought it looked, a little childish, like not really super professional. And I really wanted to get my face in my logo. I really obviously try to get my voice out there, and doing video content like this, I would think what a better way than to get my face on my logo. So I actually had a friend of mine, shout out Mike on the Mike podcast. He was great. He worked up the actual cartoon version of me. And then I just took it to Canva and got some backgrounds going, got some graphics going, and got a little more details on it. And then boom, there we were. I had the brand new logo. So we've had that for about 2 months now, and I love it. I appreciate it though, Brandon.
Can you talk about what do you cover in your sports podcast?
Yeah, absolutely. So I cover football, basketball, and baseball, NFL being what I love the absolute most. And then I would probably say basketball next. And then we do cover some baseball as well. But if I had to say what we truly discuss on what off season, it's definitely football, football, football. I think that's America's greatest sport. Definitely my most favorite sport. And that's where I have the most passion at.
Who are some of your favorite teams whenever you cover for the football side?
So obviously the New Orleans Saints, as you can see here, I love the Saints. I love watching the Atlanta Hawks as well. My actual dad's side of the family's from New Orleans, so that's where I get the New Orleans fandom from. And then I love watching the Bulldogs. I love watching the Hawks. And my Braves let me down every year, but I'd say my favorite teams to cover are, of course, my Saints, and I love covering my home teams as well. And obviously whoever's being real mysterious, real interesting, really just drawing all the attention to them, and some of the lower level teams as well, to try to get a little bit of a different look, aspect on everything.
Who are some of the people that you've interviewed for your podcast?
So I actually have my first very big interview coming up tomorrow. Bryant McFadden. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he is actually now a current analyst on CBS Sports. And I'm just super excited that he gave me the opportunity. Shout out BMAC Sports Talk and CBS Sports being able to let me get the opportunity to interview him. But some people that I actually have under my belt already would be Joe Morley. He's been on the show. I've had my buddy Joe Joffrey of the Clowntown Sports Talk show. I've been with Piggy Bank Picks as well. That's their podcast. And let's see, I actually just had JT and the Don, another great sports podcast, and stuff about sports, Brian Bolster. I've had a good bit of people on, a lot of sports podcasters that you probably see me interact with on Instagram. So that's why I usually try to keep, relevant. But anytime I can get the big interview like this, or be able to get a celebrity like I have tomorrow, I'm always grateful and excited for it.
What are you looking forward to in tomorrow's interview?
In tomorrow's interview, I'm really looking forward to just really capturing who Bryant McFadden really was as a player, getting his actual mindset, because I personally believe he played in the golden era of the NFL. He got drafted in 2005, or excuse me, yes, he got drafted in 2005, and he stepped out of the league in 2011. He got to play next to Troy Polamalu. He got to play with the greats like, play against Peyton Manning a lot, played with Ben Roethlisberger, a great coach, and Mike Tomlin, who still coaches the Steelers. And just really getting to understand how much the game has changed and really what his outlook on the game was, because me being such a young guy and him being a veteran and now being a sports analyst, I'm sure his outlook on the game is very vast.
Can you talk about what you've learned so far since starting your podcast?
Absolutely. So I would say the biggest thing with sports podcasting is you have to make the episodes and the content and just everything in general. Nobody's going to listen to you at first. For anybody who's watching this, anybody thinking about starting a sports podcast, and I'm not saying it's possible, but unless you just pop and go viral pretty quick, or your content is super compelling and amazing right off the rip, which for most people it usually isn't, just because you have to obviously learn how to create it, get it to stand out, and get other people to want to engage with you. But I would say the biggest thing is you got to put in the dirty work. You've got to put in the work to where people are going to be only watching your video 6 or 7 times, and you might only get 2 or 3 clicks on your podcast for potentially the first 90 days to maybe even 6 months. But if you always put in the dirty work, just never stop working, never stop pushing, grinding towards your goal. And I would say the biggest thing is just believe in yourself, because nobody else is going to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. So if you put in the dirty work, never stop putting in the dirty work, and then believe in yourself, your show will be able to take off and go anywhere you would like it to.
What advice would you give upcoming future sports talk podcasts that are looking to get started just like you and me?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
What advice would you give upcoming sports talk podcasts that are looking to get started?
Advice, I would probably still go back to the, of course, never stop working really hard and everything. But if I had to say really one true piece of advice, is don't listen to anybody that's going to tell you that you can't do it. Kind of goes back to believing in yourself as well. But if you really want to just be able to block out all the negativity and just maybe even the critics in general, if you can just really stay true to yourself and just chase what makes you happy, chase your passion. Like I was mentioning, I talk about football, basketball, and baseball, but I love football the most. So I try to really do as much NFL content as I can, because I know doing the NFL content, I'm going to be able to get creative. I'm going to be able to let my passion flow through, be able to look happy on camera, and just be able to deliver that value. But I would say the biggest thing is believe in yourself and just chase your passion, because if you do that, everything else will naturally flow for you.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find your podcast at on social media along with podcast platforms?
Absolutely. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, you can go to, even if there's a third-party podcast app. I've seen my podcast pop up on there. We're on Google Podcasts. I think I already mentioned that. Same thing as Google Play Music. YouTube as well. Facebook, you can find me at The What Off Season Sports Podcast. On Instagram, you can find me at What Off Season Pod. I'm sure you'll post this on there, so you'll be able to see on Brandon's post as well. And then on Twitter as well, What Off Season Pod. It's spelled SZN. And then you can find me on YouTube also at the What Off Season Sports Podcast. So anywhere you listen to podcasts, if you're not finding me, there's something wrong, because I'm everywhere.
Thank you again, Adam, for your interview, and best of luck with your podcast, What the Off Season.
Thank you, Brandon. I really appreciate it.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Adam, for your interview, and best of luck.
Thank you, Brandon. You have a good one, buddy.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.